Welcome to General Psychology, the online course for the fall semester. I wanted to create a brief orientation video to help you understand where things are located on the course site's website, since you probably haven't used it before. I also wanted to talk a little bit about the syllabus, what you can expect to do this semester, what you can expect to get out of the course, and essentially just give you what we would normally cover in the first week if this were actually a traditional classroom. So I'm at the weekly content part of the website, and you would access that by going over here, and you can see that during this first week the goal is to really get you introduced to the course and get you oriented to the website. So the first thing that you'll be doing in part through this video and then also just on your own is to become more familiar with the online format. A second thing, and I'll talk more about this shortly, is that you'll be getting to know the other students who are in your group. This class has about 18 people, and so I've divided everyone up into 3 groups of 6 people. And then, since you will be working with groups, another major aspect of this week as well as next week is for you and the rest of your group to work together to come up with some explicit expectations for one another and how you will behave with each other. So each week you will have one of these. You can see next week we'll be talking, actually the next 2 weeks, weeks 2 and 3, we'll be covering nature, nurture, and human diversity. And so everything you will need can be accessed here. But for this week, it's just the course introduction. So to get more information, you go ahead and click on that title. And really all I've done for this first week is to essentially give you a list of things to accomplish. Now, in order to access the syllabus, if you haven't done that yet, you can see I'm telling you that you can access it from the game plan link. So I'm going to go over there. And on the game plan, I only have posted 2 different things. One is the syllabus, which I will click on to download now. And the other one is the course schedule. And I'll go ahead and click on that to bring it up, and we'll get back to that in a moment. All right, so let me open up the syllabus. You should go ahead and save it. It might even be better if you print it out for yourself. All right, one of the first things I want to draw your attention to is the topics that we will cover in this semester. Typically, when we think about psychology, a lot of times all people think about are the psychological disorders. But you can see that there are a whole host of topics, including psychological disorders, but we'll also be covering a little bit about how the brain impacts behavior, learning and memory, language, cognition, emotion. We'll spend some time on social psychology. So there's a whole host of topics. Now, I do want to say I have a cat and 2 dogs, and so you will probably hear them chiming in over the course of this orientation. There we go. I didn't cue him to do that. I don't know if you heard the cat meow. So we are not meeting at all in person, no in class time, but if this were a traditional course, you would spend basically 3 hours a week for 15 weeks plus exam week. So that's where we get the time allotment of 45 hours. So what this time allotment details is how we will be making up for the lack of class time. In addition to these 45 hours, I want to make sure that you're aware that you will also be spending time reading the textbook, just as you would in a regular class. There will be a few projects that you will work on, just as you would in a regular class. There will be quizzes that you need to take online, and that would be true even if you were in a regular class. So I just want to make sure that you're clear on the fact that these 45 hours, that's not all of the time you'll be spending in this class. It's really 45 hours plus probably an additional 2 to 3 hours a week. All right, so how will we make up for the lack of class time? Well, every week we will have a discussion board that you'll engage with your group on particular topics. There are 15 weeks. I'll be grading 12 of your discussion boards. So that means you can either choose to only participate in 12, or I'll just grade your 12 best. You can see I'm expecting about 2.5 hours of your time each week. I'll talk more about discussion boards in a few minutes. There's also a project that you'll be working on in your group, and I'll talk more about that in a few minutes. And then there are what I'm calling online instruction, which is essentially watching some videos, and then you'll be talking about them as part of the discussion board. Just some basic information. This is also, if we go back to the course sites and go down here to instructor info, right here you can see a picture of what I look like. And then here's my contact information. That is my cell phone. Definitely the fastest way to reach me is my email. I do have in-person office hours. I'm also happy to communicate by email, or if you prefer, we can set up like a back and forth chat using this course sites website, and that would be by an appointment that we agreed upon. All right, one of the big things that people usually want to know right from the get-go is what they're expected to do in a class. You will be doing a variety of things. Altogether, you can earn a total of 1,000 points. You can see almost half of all of those points come from the weekly discussion boards. About a third of it comes from essentially bi-weekly quizzes. Your first quiz will be available in week 3. There's also the group projects that you'll be doing. I said I would talk more about that shortly. There is a project that you will be doing individually. I'll talk more about that. And then a development interview that you will conduct, and that's worth about 5%. Now, if you want to be able to estimate your grade, I will post all of your grades in the regular Blackboard, not course sites, but the regular Blackboard that you would use for any other course. And so that way you can keep track of your grades and make an estimate of what you would need to do. In general psychology, you have to earn at least a D- to pass the course. So that's actually lower than probably all of your other classes. Textbook, I already told you which textbook to get. If you do have the 7th edition, let me know. I know one of you has already done that. If you haven't, please do so I can get you a revised reading list. Now, the course outcomes. What do I want you to actually be able to do once you have finished this course? Well, certainly one of the most obvious things is to be able to apply the information that we cover from the textbook, to be able to apply that to everyday behaviors. And actually, that's going to be the topic for a lot of your discussion boards, as well as wikis that you're going to be making with your group. We are also going to spend 1 week specifically on scientific methods, but then scientific method and general reasoning and critical thinking is going to be a part of the discussion boards over the course of the semester. Another thing that we will discuss explicitly on a few weeks, but it will kind of global up into other weeks as well, is to look at potential biases that we have as people, and how does our cognitive skill fail us on an everyday basis. For example, our memories are often not truly accurate representations of what truly happened. We'll explore that in more detail. And through the course of this semester, you will be getting some basic principles of psychology, and also how psychologists do research to understand human behavior, and that's going to be very similar actually to healthcare research. The course will allow you to do a number of things related to just the college's educational outcomes. I'm going to skip over this, but of course you can read it on your own time. All right, now I want to go over a few policies for the course. So these will be my expectations for myself as well as for you and your group mates. All of the work that you do for this class is either going to be in written form or probably in PowerPoint. The way that you will submit that work to me is either you will post it on the discussion board so that your group, you're also submitting it to your group, post it to course sites on the discussion board or the wiki, or you will email it to me. Be mindful that each class week is running from early Monday morning to late Sunday night. So for example, Monday, August 20th is our very first day for this semester. Hopefully you're looking at this on Monday. Any assignment that you have to complete during the week, you would need to do it by Sunday night unless I state that, unless a different date is given to you. I strongly encourage that you write everything in Microsoft Word or something like that. Create a backup file, so you're going to save that. That way, if there's some kind of internet glitch on the discussion board, something happens, you haven't lost all of your work. I've talked to a number of students who might have spent an hour composing something, and then they were composing it online, then there's some type of internet problem, and they've lost all of their work. Definitely do it in Word and save, save, save. Another really great thing about preparing your work in Word and not directly on course sites is that you can take advantage of the spelling and grammar check. Please, please do this. You will be graded on the quality of your writing. So if you have any challenges with your writing, and even if you don't, because I consider myself a good writer, but I still make spelling and grammar errors periodically, Word will allow you to make sure that you present yourself as professionally and as sophisticated as possible. On the same line, something I want you to keep in mind is we have online quizzes. That means there is a chance that when you're in the middle of completing your quiz, if you have an internet problem, you could lose your work. So it would be a really good idea to write down a little bit of your answer so that if the internet does mess up and you have to go back in, you don't have to start from scratch. When you submit work, it should be in a file that I can open, and I use Microsoft. Now, if you are using a Mac, it is your responsibility to make sure that you are composing something that I can open in Microsoft Word. And it's not just me, it's also your classmates. Most people are able to get a Mac version of Word. There's also Google Documents that I can open using Microsoft, or you can save something as an RTF file. My late policy is right there. Please don't be late. It not only does it mess me up, but it messes up your group mates. But if you do have to be late, you can see you'll be penalized 10% every day, up to a week. After a week, your work won't be accepted. Now, if you run into a problem, if something's happening at home with your family, something's happening with work, please let me know. And if you feel comfortable, let your group mates know as soon as possible. Okay? I have had experiences where students just suddenly drop off the face of the discussion board, and I don't see them, they're not submitting anything to me, and I have no idea what's happened. I don't know if they're blowing off the class, I don't know if they're just being lazy, I don't know if they've gone on vacation, or if something is really wrong. Now, in a lot of situations, we can work something out. I really want you to be successful, but the only way I can help you is if you reach out to me. The only way your group mates can help you is if you reach out to them. So please, please, please let your group members know if you're running into a problem. Don't just take the hit, all right? Probably we can work something out. I emphasized already, and I'm going to say it again, you are expected to proofread all of your work. That includes emails to me. You want to be as sophisticated and professional as possible. Take advantage of the spelling and grammar checks that are in the email system and that are in your Microsoft Word or whatever else you're using. Everything should be in APA format. Now, if you aren't all that familiar with APA format, I'm going to give you a way to learn a little bit more about it. All right, so I'm back on course sites, and I have an APA guide up here. In order to access this, you need to get to Tips and Resources, linked right here. The APA guide, this will actually take you to an outside source. Other instructors that you've had might have already recommended this to you. It's the Online Writing Lab. You can also find it by just Googling APA OWL, O-W-L, and you'll get here. And it's a really wonderful source for APA guidelines, including the things that students are most interested in. Details of how to do in-text citations. It gives you some basic notes as well as some really great examples. And then also how to do your reference list. So this is a really wonderful resource. All right, I'm back on the syllabus now. A few more policies to go over. I want you to be mindful when you are communicating either with me on email, with one of your group mates, or if you're communicating on the discussion board. It really is valuable to use proper etiquette. So instead of greeting me with just, "Hey, Amanda," or "Hey, Dr. Price," and I'll tell you I do prefer to be called Dr. Price, write a greeting in a professional way. "Dr. Price, dear Dr. Price, may I have a moment of your time?" That's a little extra formal. Be sure to have your greeting, convey your message, proofread it, and then have your closing. Thank you, sincerely, warmly, best, whatever you want. Make sure to use proper capitalization, proper punctuation. These kinds of things really do change the way your reader is going to feel about you. And of course, you want me and your group mates to view you as being a professional. You also want to be tactful in your message, even if you're really upset at me for a grade or at a group mate for their behavior in your group. Be honest, but be tactful. Now, when should you email me as the instructor? You should do it when you are writing a private message to me, something that you are sure nobody else is curious about. So if you wanted to ask, "Hey, I can't access that video. Are you sure it's still available?" That's something that other students are going to be interested in. Don't send that to me in email. There's another way to ask that question. But if, let's say, your child is really sick and you need to not be present in this class for the next week or so, and you don't really want to share that with the whole class, certainly send me an email. But be mindful, is this something that anybody else could use? If so, don't email me. You're going to post that in a different way. If you do have questions about the class, maybe review this video if you think I might have gone over it, check the course announcements, check the course information discussion board. I'll talk more about that here shortly, and check the syllabus before you send me a message. A lot of times students will ask me about things that are readily in the syllabus or on the course schedule. So save everybody a little bit more time and just double check. Now, on the discussion boards, there are a couple of different types of discussion boards that I'll get into here very, very shortly. Keep in mind the discussion boards are public messages, so anybody in the class can view it. If anybody is a guest, so if my boss or one of my colleagues wants to observe me, they're going to see the discussion board. That's another reason why you want to be as professional as possible. But of course, you also want to be compassionate to other people, be mindful of where they're coming from, that other people have different perspectives from you, so be tactful. And once again, I will ask you, please compose your posts in Word, run a spell check, run a grammar check prior to posting it so you're as professional as possible. If you do contact me by email or by phone, I will get back to you probably within just a few hours, but definitely no more than 24 hours unless I provide some advance notice that something terrible in my life has happened and I need to check out for a few days. I certainly hope that doesn't happen. Now, one of the last things I want to talk about in terms of expectations for you is the issue of academic dishonesty. This is an online class. We haven't met. Obviously, you want to please me, but the fact that we haven't met makes you maybe a little bit less invested in pleasing me. You haven't met your group members, so you're less invested in pleasing them. That does mean that academic dishonesty is a little bit more likely. So what counts as academic dishonesty? Well, for one, if you were completing your multiple choice quiz with somebody else and using their help. The quiz is already, you can use your book and your notes. I just ask that you do everything independently. The other big source for academic dishonesty would be plagiarism. Now, the one everybody's familiar with is here. If you knowingly duplicate the work of others and don't cite them. So you take somebody else's paper or you lift a few paragraphs out of somebody else's work. That's plagiarism, and I think we all know it. Another thing that counts as plagiarism is to quote a source and not say that you're quoting it. This is actually one of the easiest things to pick up. I have an idea of how most 18 to 25-year-old first-year college students write. If it sounds really professional, usually what I end up doing is copying it, pasting it into Google, bam, Wikipedia comes up, and it's really easy to see that a student has quoted. So if you do quote, make sure you put it in quotes and you cite it as a quote. The place where I think students are most likely to plagiarize without even meaning to is this last one right here. Closely summarizing multiple sentences. So let's say one of your sources lists ideas, and you basically list those ideas in the exact same order with a lot of the same words. You've changed a word here and there, but for the most part, it's the same thing. Even if you have cited them, that is still considered plagiarism because you really haven't put very much thought into the writing. You've essentially relied on that other source to do your writing for you. So that would also be considered plagiarism. Please don't do these things. Now, more information on what constitutes plagiarism is available on course sites. That's going to be in the same place as the APA OWL guide. You would go to tips and resources, but I don't have that up right now. If you do have any special learning needs, you have any type of learning disability, please contact me. If you do have a learning disability, you would need to go and talk to somebody at the Student Health Services over in the downtown pavilion. But if you have any concerns about the course, and of course concerns are going to be coming up, contact me. All right, so now I'm going to get into discussing the assignments, what you'll be doing over the course of the semester. The most regular assignment that you will have is your involvement with the discussion boards. This is probably my favorite part of the class because I've seen students give some really thoughtful and insightful ideas, especially quieter students. Some of you, when you sent me your profile, said you didn't really like to talk in class. What I have seen is that many students, whether they're quiet in regular classes or they're talkative in regular classes, they end up putting forth some really great ideas when you actually take the time to sit and write out your thoughts. So let me show you how to get to the discussion boards. All right, so I'm back on course sites. And in order to get to discussion boards, you can do different things depending upon which discussion board you want. The one that is listed right here, course discussion board, this would be something that is visible to everybody in the class. Then there are other discussion boards that are just for your group. All right, so let me first show you this. This is where you would go to engage in discussion board conversation that is not graded. All right, so what you'll find here, this is the course information board. If you have a question like, hey, I don't think this video link works anymore. Are you sure this is what you wanted? Something that would be of interest to other students, what you would do is click on course information and then create a thread. Go ahead and give a subject like autism video link. Type up your message. Video link doesn't work. Probably you'd give me a little bit more information than that, and go ahead and submit it. And then your question will show up. Now I'm logged in as test student right now, so that's what it comes up as. Now, if you as another student see somebody has posted a question and you think you have an answer, like somebody says, hey, does anybody know when the presentations for our project are due, and you know the answer, well then you would click on that thread and just hit reply, and you can type in, here is your answer, and submit. Now if you're not ready to submit it, you want to come back to it later, you can hit save. The only way other people will actually be able to see it, the only way I will be able to see it to grade it, is if you actually hit submit. Now, one thing that I did do for you shyer students is I went ahead and made it so that you could post anonymously. So if you have a question and you feel like it's a stupid question, I'm going to give you the usual teacher statement of I don't think there are any stupid questions, but sometimes people get embarrassed. You can have question I'm embarrassed to ask, and you type out your question. What you can do is post that message anonymously, and that way nobody will know who wrote it, but you'll still be able to get the answer to your question. I'm going to cancel this one right here, and I'll later on delete this so you won't actually see this up there. So I've already started one. Where is the week 1 discussion board? All right, so I posted that as the instructor, and then as the helpful student, I went in to tell you where you can get to the week 1 discussion boards. And I will check this course information board regularly, and if no students have given a correct answer, I'll go ahead and write in the correct answer. If I see other people have given the correct answer, I'll say, yep, that's correct, great, good job helping each other out. All right, something else that's available here, I posted some examples from previous semesters of quality discussion board contributions, so you would understand what kinds of work gets good credit. So this is stuff that has been posted by other people. My name is on there, but these were actually things that were written by other students. So you can see what students have written, and these would be things that would have earned full credit. Well, they did earn full credit. All right, so that's all of the course information discussion board. Again, these are things that can be posted without having to worry about getting grades. The discussion board that you will be graded on, you will access by first going to your group. So we click on groups. I actually am a member of all groups. I think maybe you won't be able to see all of them. I think you'll maybe only see your group. But let's see. I'll go ahead and go into the Skinner group. And these are named after famous psychologists, Skinner, Thorndike, and Watson. And in order to actually access your group discussion board, you will scroll down here. And this is also the place where you can access your wiki. Hit group discussion board, and you can see that there are introductions right here. And it looks like maybe some people have already responded to me. I gave my intro, and yep, Desiree and Courtney have already responded. Great job. Okay, so every single week there will be a new discussion board question that you will be responding to. Come back to the syllabus now. A couple things I wanted to emphasize to you. I already told you, but I'll reiterate. I'm only going to be grading 12 out of the 15. You must contribute this week, and you must contribute in the final 2 weeks. Other times you contribute are up to you. I do expect that you will regularly monitor and post. I want you to be posting several times each week. All right, so the discussion board is something that you don't just log on once and do everything all at one time, because I want this to be a regular ongoing dialogue that you have with your group mates. I've talked a little bit about what it means to contribute in a meaningful way. I gave you those examples on course sites, and then there is also a grading rubric here that you can use. All right, looking at this rubric, first, the easy stuff. You will be graded on the quality of your writing. You can see that's 6 out of the 35 points. That's where I'm really emphasizing that you should prep it ahead of time in Word or something like that. Another thing that I just emphasized is that it's important for you to be involved during the entire discussion week. So ideally, you should make your first contribution fairly early in the week, let's say Monday or Tuesday. And then continually throughout the week, at least 1 or 2 other times. Now, in addition to being graded on quality of the writing, quantity of posting, of course you're going to be graded on the quality of your ideas. So you want to try to present something that's unique. Don't just say the same thing that other people have said. Make new interpretations, ask new questions. You want to connect what you're writing to the text. This is one of the only ways, this and the quiz, that I can really see if you are understanding what the textbook is saying to you, if you're able to apply these ideas. So make sure in your discussion board that you are connecting to things in the textbook. I've read the textbook. I know what's in there, and I want to see that material kind of coming up in your discussion board posting, in addition to making connections with the test, I also really would love it if you can make connections with your personal life or your professional experiences. I think that's where your peers will really be able to benefit from your ideas, is if you can make connections to your professional experiences. Make connections to the videos if you can. And then you want to make sure that you, in your posting, that you have some really kind of meaty posts, that you have some insightful ideas, that you've analyzed the reading. And as I said before, I gave you some examples on that course discussion board of things that I think really did accomplish these fairly well. All right. In addition to the weekly discussion boards, you will also be engaging in an interview of somebody who is at least 25 years older than you. And I would prefer that you not interview your parent. So this will be due right around the period where we're discussing human development, and I can show you the schedule shortly. But in addition to talking about the concepts from human development, it's highly likely that the things that you learn from your interview, you may be able to apply to other topics. So when I say in the discussion boards, making connections to the text, to professional experiences, it might also be nice if you're able to make connections with something you learned in the development interview, not just in the week of we cover development, but any other week. Now, you are welcome to ask any questions that you want, but I expect that you will ask these questions of your interview subject. When you actually write up your paper is not a transcript of the interview. All right. The paper that you're submitting to me is going to be somewhat of a summary and a reflection on what you have learned. So the only information about the development interview is here in the syllabus. Oh, there's one of my dogs there barking in the background. Here's the grading rubric. I do expect that you give me some summary of the person that you're interviewing. You can use their real name or a fake name, but I would like for you to be honest about this stuff. You're going to be summarizing their answers as appropriate. I don't want to read everything that they said. Take the high points. In addition to summarizing, you're also going to reflect a bit on what they've said. Connect their ideas with what you learned from the textbook and from the videos. And then, of course, you will also be graded on the quality of your writing. This is a paper. It's not a research paper, really. The only research you're doing is your interview. So there won't be any references, probably. But you still want to follow the basic guidelines of APA style and have proper writing. And it says in the course schedule, but just to let you know, the development interview is due the beginning of October in week 8, which is the first week that we covered development, so that's about halfway through. All right, the next thing that you'll be doing, you're going to work on with your group, and that's what I'm calling the Psych in Action project. So there are 3 topics your group will be randomly assigned to address one of them. And the general goal for this project is that you and your group members are going to create a webinar. So that's a presentation with both audio and video, or it could just be a PowerPoint, as long as it has audio with it as well. And essentially this is going to be a 20-minute webinar that could arguably serve as a continuing education workshop for healthcare professionals. This is going to be due in week 10. I expect that everybody in the group will make a significant contribution. Then we will go over as a class each one of those topics. So treatment adherence is really going to be looking at how maybe you can use what you've learned about memory and apply it to encouraging patients to adhere to their treatment. So we'll be going over that in week 11, which is memory. The next webinar is stress management. So in week 12, when we go over emotions and stress, this will be part of the assignment, is to watch the group's webinar. And then in week 13, we're going to be talking about hunger, sex, and sleep. And then we'll use the sleep deprivation webinar that has been created. I'm not going to go over all of this. There's information here, and then there's information on course sites. So let me take you over to that. In order to access the assignments, you would click on Assignments. Psych in Action we can click on the title here. And what I have are some general guidelines. Everybody should read that. That's more detail than what is on the syllabus. Tells you a little bit about the project and gives you some ideas on maybe how your group might effectively divide the labor. And then there's the assignment for each of the 3 Psych and Action projects. All right, let me pull up one of those samples just so you can see what it looks like. All right, so if you were the group that was doing emotions and stress, imagine you're a wellness coach. You're going to be creating a webinar for folks in the emergency department to try to prevent and reduce stress and burnout. And I have identified the major tasks that your webinar should accomplish. Explain burnout and its causes. Discuss the concept of stress. You can see the other things here. And then because I really want you to focus your time on reading the research and creating a presentation, I have provided resources for you. As a group, and remember your group has 5 to 6 people in it, as a group you will have 10 sources. At least 5 of those need to be scholarly sources, so those would be journal articles. The other 5 can either be journal articles or reliable websites. I've provided some here for you. Each group has a list that I've already said, hey, these are good. You're welcome to use any others that you want as long as you run them by me and get approval. So I give you some reliable websites, and then I've also given you some scholarly sources. In some cases, they can be accessed by just hitting Control and clicking on the title. Otherwise, you would need to access the PDF, which will be, I haven't loaded them up just yet, but they will be saved in the same folder as the projects. So I'll have a readings folder right here for the projects. All right, so let me get back to the syllabus. So everything you need for Psych in Action will be, if you click on Assignments and then go to Psych in Action, you'll be able to get everything you need. Please make sure that you read the general guidelines as well as your specific project information. Oops, that's not what I want. Something you'll see when you read the general guidelines is that in addition to creating the webinar, which is the first 3 points that are listed here, you will also have a short quiz, and that can be part of your webinar included in that same file. Really just maybe 5 or 6 questions to determine, did the learners actually learn what you were trying to present? All right, so how will you be graded? This is a group project, and everybody in your group will receive the same grade. Please refer to your group contract that you're going to work on this week and next week to make sure that everybody's pulling their weight. If you feel like they aren't pulling their weight, hopefully in your group contract you've determined what you're going to do about that. If it's still not working, contact me and I will refer to your group contract to figure out how to move from there. You will be evaluated with the Psych in Action project on a number of things. It's worth 80 points, so that's 8% of your grade. You can see you're going to be telling me a little bit about the objectives. You're going to present your lesson. Then there will be the quiz that and essentially your quiz should be a quality quiz. So I'm going to grade you on how good your quiz questions are. As a group, you will also be in charge of facilitating the discussion board for that week. So instead of me moderating and facilitating the discussion board, you and your group mates will be doing that. And there's more details on that in the general guidelines that I showed to you. All right, the final assignment that I want to detail is an individual assignment, and this is something that you will be pursuing over the entire semester. And I'll check in with you periodically throughout the semester, and then you'll submit a final work on it at the very end. I'm calling this the Beyond the DSM project. DSM is the book that psychologists use to diagnose any type of mental health problem. Now in the textbook, we go over some of the basics of a couple of mental illnesses, but we don't really look at the human side of things. What you will do with this project is to fill in that gap. There is more information on course sites, so let me go there, again to assignments, beyond the DSM. Guidelines for the paper, so I'll pull that up, talk a little bit about that. I'm not going to go over everything that's on this page because obviously you can read it. But what you will be doing is you are going to use the internet to get to know the real world experience of a particular mental health problem like borderline personality disorder or bipolar or schizophrenia. And you will do this by looking at support group websites, chat rooms, individual blogs, YouTube videos that people have made. I don't want you to engage with any of these people. You're not going to post on the blog or post in a support group, but you're just going to read what they have written. So rather than reading research papers on schizophrenia, I think you'll probably benefit much more and find it much more interesting to read perhaps some blogs that a schizophrenic person has written. And then you'll be doing this regularly, probably every week or every 2 weeks. You should check in and see what people have been posting, take some notes. And then towards the end, what you are going to do is present your findings in a short 10-minute narrated PowerPoint or some type of video that you create so that the rest of us can really make use of the knowledge that you have gained. This is going to form the bulk of what we do in the final 2 weeks, is making use of each other's presentations. And then at the end of finals week, you will be submitting an individual paper that summarizes what you've learned. And so this paper is not a research paper in the traditional sense. You're not going to be reading scholarly articles, but the research that you're doing is essentially reading other people's work on their details of living with mental illness. All right, I've gotten back to course sites here. I have provided some sample papers. These were written, however, by people in an upper level abnormal class. So these papers have more information than I would expect you to put in, but I think they still give you a little bit of a feel for what I'm expecting with this project. And soon, probably towards the end of this week, I'll go ahead and post something in here that gives you a list of suggested websites and suggested sources so that you can learn a little bit more about each one of these conditions. I've gone back to the syllabus. You'll note that the paper is due at the end of the finals week. I am willing to review rough drafts. You aren't required to submit a rough draft, but if you would like my feedback ahead of time, please submit it more than a week in advance. You will be graded on the quality of your presentation, both the quality of the information and how nicely done it is, how professional it is. Similarly, in your paper, you will be graded on the information you present, your ability to reflect upon what you've learned from that information, and of course the quality of the writing. A portion of your grade is also going to be determined by evidence that you have engaged with this throughout the semester. So I will check in with you individually at a couple points throughout the semester to see how you are coming along. And I really expect that I'll be able to hear back very soon from you when I send you a short email. You can tell me what you've been learning. So I want to see evidence that this is something that you're doing throughout the semester and not just at the end of November. All right, in addition to those assignments, you also are going to have several quizzes, 7 quizzes to be exact. These quizzes are really a way to make sure that you are engaging with the material from the textbook and from the videos. Quizzes will also cover information from the webinars when we're actually doing that during weeks 11 through 13, so make sure that you're reviewing those, of course. Let me show you how to access the quizzes. All right, probably not a real big surprise. In order to access the quizzes, we click on Quiz. And I do have a no credit quiz, or maybe it's worth a few points of extra credit, to test your understanding of some basic course information. So let me just open that here. I've given you an hour. Your rest of your quizzes, you actually have 2 hours. You may use your book You may use your notes. And we're going to begin. Now, most of the time when you take a quiz, this system is actually going to lock it down so that you cannot open any other website. You cannot open any files. So whatever you're going to need to take the quiz, make sure you have it already in front of you in hard copy, because you won't be able to open anything else on your computer. All right, so all of the questions will show up. You can see it gives you a nice timer so you can gauge yourself. If you have a question about the course or an assignment, what should you do first? Well, I'll give it away right here. The first thing you should do is consult your syllabus. All right, so let me just go ahead and submit this as if I had completed everything. So you can see the save and submit is right here. Nope, I'm not going to worry about the fact that I didn't finish everything. All right, let's review those results. I scrolled down to the very bottom to hit OK to review my results. It gives me my score. Hey, I got it right. All right. And then on this quiz, but not on the others that you take, I've given feedback on the correct answer. So I wanted to make sure that everybody has a basic understanding of how to operate within this course, and so I have given feedback. Typically, I will not give feedback. Back to the syllabus, a couple points I want you to know. You may retake a quiz once, but only if some kind of technical internet glitch prevented you from completing it the first time. So you really should aim to complete the quiz the first time that you open it up. Each quiz is available for 3 weeks. The 2 weeks in which they're covering the material, and then the following one. So that means the quiz for weeks 2 and 3 will be available week 2, week 3, as well as week 4. All right, so you actually have a lot of time, but don't put these off, because of course you do have a lot of assignments and you want to stay on top of things. Quizzes typically have about 25 questions. As I said before, you can use your textbook, you can use your notes, but you do need to complete the exam independently, and you won't be able to pull up any kind of website. All right, that does it for covering the syllabus. I just wanted to run through one last thing on the course sites here. The one thing that we haven't really, I think I opened here, so I'll close here, is the weekly content. Basically every other week, I will be posting something beginning next week. So during weeks 2 and 3, this is the first material that you're going to be quizzed on for credit. And so in this folder, when you open it up, I don't think well, let's see what I have posted. Okay, I have posted a few things. There's a personality assessment that you can take, and I'll be posting that here shortly. You'll be able to link it, be able to click on this and link to it. You're going to use that personality assessment for your discussion board, and it tells you that in these details. This links to a video, and I'll also be posting another video link. So each week, you want to go to the weekly content and find out what you're supposed to be doing during week 2, what you're supposed to be doing during week 3. And that will be all set towards the end of this week. What you need to focus on this week, just to reiterate, I had some problems finding that mouse. Review the syllabus, view the video, move around, make sure that you're familiar with the course site. This website right here, send me an email or post on the course information board any questions that you have. You want to take the course information quiz, accessed from quizzes over here. You also want to check out the examples of good discussion board posts. That's also on the course board here. Then you want to post to your own discussion board. And remember, first you click on groups, click on your group name, then click on group discussion board. And then finally, yes, this is the part I haven't told you about. Go to your group's wiki, because you'll have 2 weeks that your group needs to work together to figure out what your contract is with one another. So to get there, click on groups, and then click on your own group, and we need to go to the group wiki. A nice thing about wiki is everybody can contribute, and it tells me when each person contributed and what they did. So you can see I'm the last person that modified this. but once others get in here, we'll see who modified it last, and then it's also really easy to see who did what. The first week, first 2 weeks, you're gonna work on your group contract. What do you expect from one another? What are you going to do if somebody isn't living up to their end of the bargain? And so what you can do is use this wiki to write out, basically at the end, you can start editing and write out your group contract. And to edit, you just click right here for edit contract. The last thing I want to do is just briefly go over the schedule. You can access this from the game plan link on course sites. What I've done is just to set up topics for each week so you know what to expect and what's expected of you. So this week, as I just finished talking, your main focus is getting to know your group mates and becoming familiar with the course sites, website, and what do you expect of one another with regard to your group mates. No reading is due. You need to be involved with this week's discussion board and the wiki that I just finished showing you. Nothing else is going on. But let's go ahead and go on down to week 4. So with week 4, you are going to be focusing on social psychology. So weeks 4 and 5 form module 2. During weeks 4 and 5, both of those are social psych. In this week, you have your reading assignment. Then you, in addition to the reading, have several videos that you need to watch. The numbers represent about how many minutes. So you can see there's about 46 minutes worth of video. The textbook reading and the video are going to be what you'll focus on in the discussion board and your wiki also. You can see not every week has a wiki. I think there's 3 or 4. Now, in addition to posting to discussion board and the wiki, this week you also need to make sure that you are completing the Module 1 quiz. So what's Module 1? Well, that's the nature, nurture, and diversity topic. So Module 1 is the material you're covering in weeks 2 and 3. You will actually have all of week 2, all of week 3, all of week 4 to complete that 2-hour quiz. So that should be plenty of time. You can see there's details for each week. Just go on down. We have no class during Thanksgiving week. That's November 19th. However, your projects are due at that point, your presentations. And then what we'll be doing in the final 2 weeks of class is, in addition to doing your reading and watching the videos, you're also going to be looking at your group mates' presentations and commenting on them in the discussion board. And then in the final week, December 10th, you just need to finish up your last quiz and submit your paper. As questions come up about what you're doing each week, post your questions on the course information board. And again, if you think it's something that absolutely nobody else has any interest in, then send me an email. That's everything that I wanted to convey